and welcome to the show today. Oh my goodness, friends, we have an enlightening journey into neurodiversity and inclusion this Disability Employment Awareness Month. Today, my guest, and we are joined by Nat Lyckowski, an advocate and IBM leader, sharing valuable insights. So stay tuned for this conversation today. I cannot wait to share it with you.
Welcome to Beyond Autistic Burnout, the talk show designed to empower ADHD autistic professionals like you to thrive in your career, life, and beyond. I'm Carole Jean Whittington, an ADHD autistic business professional who's not just surviving, but thriving after decades in burnout. And I'm thrilled to have you here with us. Each episode, I'll be joined by inspiring guests as we dive deep into transformative strategies and insights. We'll show you how to break free from burnout, ignite sustainable energy, and embrace your authentic self. Together, we'll navigate career challenges, nurture relationships, and excel in every aspect of life. It's time to fuel your success and embark on your journey of empowerment. Let's take this incredible journey together. Get ready to be an authentic leader and unleash sustainable energy in your life. Welcome to Beyond Autistic Burnout. Let's start thriving.
I have got an amazing show for you guys today. My guest is just incredible, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her and all of the amazing things that Nat does in the world. But let's kick off the show. Let's talk about this because it is, oh my goodness, an exciting new month. We're in October. It is cooling down here in Alabama. I actually spent all day Sunday at the creek because it was like the last, like sort of like that Indian summer last days before it turns cooler later this week. We had some fun stuff happening. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to share this with you. So this past Saturday was the huge Energize and Restore Experience Day. We sold tickets for this starting in August, and this was an entire day around energizing and restoration and the 7 different forms of rest other than sleep that I teach in phase 3 of the unveiling method. And we had a packed house. Tickets sold out so fast for this. And these are just a few of the pictures of everybody that had received their gift boxes for their experience day, because as we went through Experience Day in these 7 different forms of rest, from kinetic rest, where we were dancing, we were doing breath work with Jared Mossman. We had emotional rest with Allie Arena. We had just some incredible instructors. We had Joe Salmon from Kaiko Fidgets. And guys, I'm going to show you a little bit of the box here. Oh my gosh. So this is, let me move this off the stage. So here's the box. It is this nice, I mean, it is big. And my chief gifter, Kelsey, you guys got to meet her. Hey, I see a bunch of people joining us. Share in the chat. Where are you joining us from today? What are you excited about? What's lighting you up? So like when you open the box, it had the entire schedule of the day and all the events beautifully wrapped. Kelsey did such a gorgeous job. And it was packed. Oh my gosh, totally packed full of stuff. I mean, products from, I had my favorite snacks, my chamomile and lavender tea for our first break. And then I had white cheddar popcorn because that's another one of my favorite snacks. So that was in here. And of course, you guys know I am a total, absolute adore and love the spiky fidget ring from Kaiko Fidgets. That was in here. We had incredible art from Coco at Coco Moino Art. Oh my gosh. And all of her Neurodiversity spicy birds. So everybody got a selection of her art cards, which I just loved. And we had great community connection around some of these. So I'm going to read one of these to you that I just love. Is my special interest is your special interest. This is just the cutest little bird. Oh my goodness. I know. There we go. There it goes. And the one that I just thought, overthinking, like there's no tomorrow. I love this little bird here. And then let me be your favorite mess. Oh, I just love them. Your neurodiversity does not define your worth. That was one that really sparked a lot of conversation on Saturday. We had such a great time. We had so many people show up. But I wanted to read this beautiful card that Coco enclosed with all of our pieces of art. In the front of it says, "Neurodivergent joy is beautiful, and so are you." Somewhere amidst the noise, the rush, and the misunderstandings, there is a quiet space where we belong and we feel to be our colorful selves. Maybe it's by taking up space with brushes and words. Maybe it's by looking at the details of art or listening to all the subtleties of poetry. And we had an incredible breakout session for our appreciative rest with Michael Peterson, who is just, oh, such a talented poet. And he was walking, part of our group did that one. And then we did Zentangles in an art project. So we did different types of appreciative rest. But in the poetry room, Michael really walked people through some beautiful things. And of course, we had, let me see if I can get it. Here we go. We had the special spicy pack to celebrate my book, Unleashing Sustainable Energy. So everybody got this spicy garden salsa mix, as well as the recipe in this cute little cactus stir stick to make your own spicy margarita to kind of elevate and excite everybody. We got these great journals everybody had so that we could track our energy numbers and all of these amazing things that everyone was feeling and experiencing throughout the day. And we had all of our pens. Everybody got a pen from Margot Wask at Retrophiliac Art. Oh, wow. Yes. So I got a ton of amazing gifts in the mail over the last 2 weeks I wanted to share with you guys. So here's some of the white cheddar popcorn. And Kelsey sent me just the cutest little thank you gift with some popcorn and just a little note in there. So thank you, Kelsey. That was so sweet of you. And one of my good friends, JJ, y'all, she is just the sweetest human in the whole wide world. So she sent me something really special to celebrate my book. It has my name on it. And it has these beautiful pink orchid flowers. And it says author for my first book. I mean, guys, that was so sweet. JJ, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And, I love to shine a light on other businesses and small ADHD owned businesses. And so the Energize and Restore Experience Day box was packed full of gifts from ADHD autistic owned businesses that I made sure I purchased to support other people. And I also love to support other talk shows and other podcasts by autistics. And my friend Philip Kinglow has today's autistic moment. And so I was really excited. I got the new cup and it has today's autistic moment on there. And he sent me a pen. So I've got a pen. I was so excited to buy these because I love to be able to support my businesses and my friends and everybody in our community. I can get it out of the envelope. There we go. Oh my gosh. So here it is. This is the lapel pin for today's autistic moment. So guys, you can order these from Philip. And if you haven't listened to the show, please go check it out. He has got some great conversations and all kinds of fun stuff. And he's got some great conversations out there right now that have been publishing over the last couple of weeks. So don't miss that. Make sure you go and get it. And I got a little gift box here from Coco with a pen with one of her spicy birds on it. So guys, thank you so much for all of those wonderful things. I just wanted to share that because, that's one of the things that's part of how we energize and restore is not just giving, because we're pretty good at giving. We're really good givers. But we're really, a lot of times, and I know I was, and I know so many people have shared with me that they are as well, it's really uncomfortable and sometimes hard to receive. And that's something that really shifted in my life over the last year. And as we move into talking about some of the topics that we have over the next couple of weeks here, I want to make sure I'm highlighting some of these because this is Disability Employment Awareness Month. It's also ADHD Awareness Month. And so I want to talk about a lot of the different things. And we've got some incredible guests coming up this month. We have Charles Kressenberger next week. Oh my goodness. We have Jennifer Williams later this month, and we're going to be talking about some AI things again a little bit more. She's going to take us on a deeper dive to kind of follow our conversation from August that we had with Scott Fraysard and Ali Arena and Jordan Carmack. So guys, I want you to know my guest today, oh my goodness, I am so super excited about this. Ah! So friends, today we have a remarkable guest with us, Nat Lyckowski. She's a passionate advocate and neurodiversity advancement leader at IBM and has been for over 25 years. Nat champions the value of embracing neurodiversity in the workplace, challenging norms, and fostering inclusivity. Nat is proudly neurodivergent and parent of an autistic IT professional. Nat enables businesses to see the value in embracing indie talent to attain highly skilled and dedicated professionals that may otherwise be overlooked. This talent pool brings 32% new skills, 66% higher job loyalty, and more, improving corporate citizenship and revenue. Nat is experienced with intersectionality across many identity groups. And Nat is a business transformation leader and the advanced neurodiversity advancement leader. And I'm so excited to have her here with us today as we kick off this conversation for Disability Employment Month. Nat, welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you so much. I was looking for a tree to log in. Gotta love it. So
that picture so much. We got to pull that back up. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
look at this.
I was actually I was speaking to the summer crop of IBM interns about neurodiversity. I think it was the first week that they were onboarded, and I happened to be at Scout Camp, and I was asked if I could log in. So I found a tree and made it happen.
I love that. When I read it, you're like, I'm logging in, haha. The tree behind you, I was like, that is so clever. I just love that. And you always have like the most lush, beautiful plants. Oh my gosh. Like,
can you say
that was how we, that was special interest.
Maybe.
You have a new baby back there.
I do. Isn't she lovely?
Oh, she is. She's so pretty. What is it that you really get? Like, what energizes and restores you about your environment with plants? Because you have such a beautiful office.
Well, thank you. I have I think last count, about 400 pots worth inside and about 1,000 perennials outside. I just watching how resilient they are and how they're all different and how they all grow and have different needs. And it's also a reminder that if their needs aren't met, they kind of let you know very clearly. And sometimes I'm not good at expressing what I need. So it's kind of a reminder, and they don't talk back. So that's good too.
This is so true. You know, and everything that you read about like curating your environment, especially your work environment, your home environment, is that plants, like living plants, really bring down and like cool hot temperatures and really make the environment feel so much more inviting and welcoming. And every time I see a picture of your gorgeous office, I immediately feel so much calmer.
Well, it's also great for ripping out the weeds when you get a little... So it's all good. But thank you so much for having me. Thank you, listeners, whether you're listening live or you're catching the replay. I know how valuable your time is. So thank you for spending some of that very precious time with us.
Absolutely. So Nat, let's kick off this conversation because you and I met and we kind of came up with some things that were really important to talk about as we're kicking off Disability Employment Awareness Month. And you had some really great insights around sort of the parity and representation in disability as we're kicking this off. And this is a really great place, I think, to kind of start the conversation because so often I think people kind of miss this.
Yeah, I would agree. When we think about diversity, right, instantly your brain goes to race, gender, sexual orientation, identification, all of these different factors that are so important and make us all who we are. But personally, I feel that disability, which is part of that diversity story, frequently is overlooked. And I believe the last thing I saw was like 1 in 20 individuals live with a disability every day. So it's something that we need to talk about just as much. Not saying it's more important than any of the others, but it needs to have parity. We need to have representation. And I think the representation piece is something that also is frequently overlooked. Like if we were running a women's initiative and it was run by all men, people would be clearly like, hey, this is a problem. But frequently in the disability and neurodiversity realm, You get individuals that are, a PhD in psychology or all of these different things, but not the lived experience. And people do not always see that as a problem. Just as if I was a, PhD in, some other area of diversity that I'm not, men's studies, I don't know. And I can, get on stage and say, let me tell you what you need. There's a definite representation issue. Now, allies are super important. We have to work together. I like to say the neurodivergents have to learn how to speak neurotypical, and the neurotypical neurodivergent, and then we meet in the middle because that's how the world is. But during this month, I think it's very important to think about, what you're doing at your companies, what you're doing in your community, to see, are you having the same airtime, the same funding, having the same level of conversations and passion and support about disability? Is there representation? And if not, work to change that. And that's one of the things we're very proud about IBM's Neurodiversity program, is that it is run and led by proudly neurodivergent individuals. Did we lose our host? I guess we might have lost our host. So in the meantime, another thing that we started this year is IBM's Executive Out, an executive ND ally program. So we have managers coming forward to share that they are neurodivergent, whether it be dyslexia, whether it be bipolar, just talking about it and removing some of those masks that we have.
Well, it is just one of those days, guys. We're back.
We're back.
Oh my God.
Well, that's good. I was riffing a little bit, trying to figure it out. So.
I don't know if you saw it. The lights kind of dimmed a couple of times, just a little bit. And I was like, oh no, what's going on? And then all of a sudden it kicked the router out.
Well, we're still here.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, we've got a question here in the chat. How did the managers find that experience and how were they supported? Oh, I can't wait to hear what the conversation was.
Yeah, I was mentioning our ND Out executive program, where we've had VPs, we even had an SVP coming out to share their story, some blogging, but just being able to say that I'm here, I am neurodivergent. And just being able to say that out loud and using the words and giving it a voice has been huge. We also have internal neurodiversity acceptance training, and we'll talk about some words with A's in just a little bit. But right now we've had over 13,000 IBMers complete our neurodiversity acceptance training. And going through that of what it's like, like ADHD in the workplace or autistic or dyslexia, and really giving it light and showing that neurodivergents, just like everybody else, can have superpowers, and just like everybody else have kryptonite, and how we all balance both of those things, and bringing innovation, bringing new thoughts can be great. But we do have to work together to make it more human. We have to focus on empathy and understanding. And it really goes to universal design.
It does. And I love that you approach it from that. And, as we're talking about Disability Employment Awareness Month, and you were talking about the inclusion and how do we do this? One of the things that I see missed so often, the opportunity, is that we have so many neurodivergent people who are PhDs, who are researchers, who are at the top of their field, and they aren't being included in a lot of these conversations. It's, the quote unquote experts. And, we talk about that, not about us, without us. And I think that's such a big part of this as we're sort of moving into this conversation is how are we being inclusive? Because, there's a really big part that, yes, we absolutely need allies and we want to be allies for other groups as well. But we have to remember that there are places where we can speak about ourselves, and there's places where others need to speak for themselves and be given the opportunity to do that. And it's not our place to speak for someone or, on behalf of someone.
There's that saying, like if you've met one autistic, you've met one autistic, or if you've met one neurodivergent, you've met one neurodivergent. I like to say if you've met one neurodivergent, you should meet some more because we're pretty cool people. Right?
And we are a varied group.
Yeah, we are. And I think going back to that question of like, how did the managers find that experience? I think a lot of it was just a simple matter of opening your heart and really taking in to question those stereotypes, to question the biases that, like, oh, you can't be this, you're not, a white, whatever. You can't, be an ADHD, or kids grow out of that. No, they don't. Or all of these different things, but really going to the fact to say, and you're looking at the business case, right? If I can do my best work in a quiet environment, that maybe I face the wall, or maybe I'm not near, a high traffic area, or in a room surrounded by 300 plants, then if it does not affect my company, my business, then why not, right? And there may be some things that can help other people, but I think it just goes to that sense. So within IBM, we have virtual safe spaces. We have one called Actually Autistic. We have one called Actually Neurodivergent. We run these training programs. We have lunch and learns, either events live in person, a lot of virtual. And in addition to those neurodivergent executives that came out, we also have our neurodivergent executive allies. And everybody together have been so welcoming and so supportive, in which it's part of our Be Equal campaign. I actually don't have an IBM shirt on today, which is kind of remarkable.
I know, because you do usually have your B somewhere in there, and I love it. And I think IBM does such a great job. I mean, just your informational, educational videos that are out there, the ones that are on YouTube they're so good. And we got a couple of like comments and some chat questions going on around the leadership that's coming out and disclosing and sharing. So Dave Thompson, hey Dave.
Hey Dave. Yeah, it always starts with one, right? You need that one trailblazer. And for us, that was Tony Horton. He was our executive sponsor, who came out and was like, yeah, I'm dyslexic, and that's okay. And then showing that vulnerability others came out and quickly formed that sense of community. And with that, you can stop masking. With that, you can ask for help where you need it and leverage strengths where you can help shine. And it's really been kind of an amazing thing. And moving from that, oh, what accommodations do you need, just to, how can I help you? And really enlightening that. So we've started the program about a year ago, and we actually just had our first woman IBM executive join the ND Out team, and that hits a whole separate bias about women in disclosing and getting formally recognized. And I think just seeing neurodiversity be part of IBM's diversity story. Like, we have our own T-shirt, right? We have the LGBT and the women and veterans, and we have. I think this is also Hispanic Heritage Month and Native American Month, or Indigenous is coming up. But to have it be the chair at the table for people with diverse abilities, disabilities, neurodiversity, to have that be supported and recognized is huge. Like, just being able to say the word, right? Neurodiversity at IBM. It's like, wait, what did you say? And it's exciting. And there's lots of other companies that are part of the ND at Work Roundtable that are working working strongly and in synergy, which is really amazing, because some of these are our competitors, but it's kind of great.
It really is. So Dave was saying, that it's been a huge moment for some of the groups that they've run, where at the end of the program, people feel comfortable enough to start sharing their particular neurodivergency. And Emily has a wonderful question.
It's like you're sharing your pronouns, right? If I, say my name is Nat, my pronouns are she, her, that instantly is laying a foundation that of trust, of empathy, that you want to share that. If I have it on my resume that I am neurodivergent and I'm a good problem solver, and I don't think outside of the box. I kind of don't see a box. And sometimes that's a good thing. But to embrace what you have.
Yeah. And I love Emily's question here. And I think this is like the perfect question for you, Nat. Emily wanted to know, how were like the first executives that did start coming out and disclose, hey, I'm dyslexic and this is just me and this is okay. What was in the background that you think happened that supported, that created that psychologically safe or encouraging environment? What do you think were some of those key elements? That's a great question, Emily. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it was probably, 8+ years of work of making IBM to be an ND friendly place by having it talked about, having IBM, April is Neurodiversity Advancement Month, where we're talking about intersectionality, where we're talking about, success enablers, what can help neurodivergence succeed. And not only just checking the box that, oh, we hired 5 new, whatever, but focusing on retention, focusing on employee development, continuing to have trainings. We have this Neurodiversity 101 training for everybody, but then we also have training for personal communication skills, which sometimes neurodivergents need a little guidance on. So being able to take a course about how to give feedback, right? So when you do X, I feel Y, can we change to do Z? And that would really help me. But to have that formula and learning how to break down those things so everybody can be themselves. And it really just grew out of 1 or 2 higher execs being willing to talk about this. We had an event that's probably recorded, a couple of years ago, but it was great because we had a panel of neurodivergent IBMers, and we had an intern, an early professional, somebody, a veteran, a manager, a director, an executive, all across the business units, whether it was, graphic design or developer or an accountant or legal or in sales, that neurodivergents are at every level and in every business unit. And, we had some people of color and, all of these different things that, and I think after doing that work, it was easier for people to feel safe, to come out and be an ally by being themselves.
And Nat, I know that, over those 8 years, as you're cultivating diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, acceptance, all of that, there's always an oops. There's always, what we say, quote unquote, is a failure, right? And I think so often we get hung up on, like, we can't make a mistake. We have to do this right, especially when we're talking about, intersectional
Diversity.
populations and supporting minorities and diversities. And what are,
Oh,
those are the gifts. What are some things
yeah,
that
it
you
is.
would
It
love to
is. I
share
mean,
with
the
us about
internet.
that?
I mean, the internet trolls are probably listening right now and taking notes and sharpening their sharpening their tongues as we speak. But one of the oops in our Andy story is that one of the first videos that we made, um, and it was like, talking about neurodiversity at IBM. There were no neurodivergents featured in the video. It was very educational, but without that. So it got released, and people were like, how could you be talking about that? You're not, we're not doing this. So, and I think that was like 2017, maybe 2018. And it really kind of shed the light on some others, including myself, that were like, we have to have this be in the voice. So we did a version 2 of this video, and it was, what is it like to be neurodivergent at IBM? And it was scripted and voiced over by IBMers who are neurodivergent. And I think that really helped a lot of people find their voice. And I think it also helped people realize that that representation is paramount across the board, just as it is for any other diversity factor.
So Nat, what are the A's that you guys talk about, and how can we use these as the tools to start these conversations and to really do inclusion and diversity well?
Right. Well, you already hit our motto, which is nothing about us without us. So if we had to have a slogan, it would be our 3 A's, and that is awareness, acceptance, and advancement. And that's kind of like the journey. We call it the neurodiversity journey, right? You have to start with awareness. You have to learn what it is. But if you stay there, that can still be discriminatory. It's like, okay, I know that Carole is different. Great, I'm aware. Don't want to work with her. Don't want to talk to her. Don't want to run my team. Don't want to share a car. Don't want to carpool with her. But I know. I'm aware. So step it up, right? Get educated from the awareness part, and then put it to use for that sense of acceptance, of realizing that you're different, how to leverage that part of your team, how to become a neuro-inclusive person. And then that last A is that sense of advancement, where you're helping that neurodivergent advance. Maybe it's a team leadership, maybe it's a project lead, maybe it's just giving them that boost of confidence that they can do something that they were struggling with, or just asking that, how can I help? And not in a medical kind of way, right?
Yes, please. Let's not do a medical deficit approach.
Right. And that's why we use positive language, right? We say recognized instead of diagnosed. We use identity first language, so we say autistic individual or neurodivergent individual. Now, granted, it's an individual choice. So if you meet a neurodivergent who says, I prefer to say this, then that's what you go with. But generally, as a rule, right, we'd say person with a broken leg, right? Something that's, a problem. And not working with what you have. So those are our 3 A's, and with that falls into that sense of CQ, which is cultural intelligence, because depending on where you are in the world, or even just, you could be in the US, but your culture that you grew up with can be different. So talking about neurodiversity in, say, India versus Poland versus Australia versus England can have a huge impact just on your actions and what's okay to say and what's not okay to say, and the biases, things take time. I'd like to think of, the neurodiversity movement is somewhat following the path of the LGBT, where, a lot of things started with an ERG or an employee community, and then you got the executives, and then you got the, on board, and now, working to the middle part. But it's hard, and it definitely is a factor.
So I love Emily is showing up with like some good questions today. So Emily asked, she's really interested in that third A in advancement and wants to know, how do you measure success there at IBM across your neurodivergent community, and how successful has advancement been? And that is such a great question. And Nat may have an off the cuff answer, and this might be something she circles back with, but this is something that we talk about in the NeuroDrive team when we go in and do workshops and consulting. We have to look at like planning in the beginning, because if we don't have a plan for that advancement, and we don't have a conversation, and we don't have the tools that we're going to do to support people, because, like Nat said, we could be like totally aware, but are we being accepting, and are we putting the things in place for everyone to be able to advance and be successful? Because that is a key part. Nat, what are your thoughts on this, or your insights?
Well, on the measurements, we don't, neurodiversity, depending on what country you're in, can hit privacy, like personal privacy stuff. You can hit HIPAA, you can hit this. We do have within IBM, in some countries, you can actually go into our Workday HR system and click a button to say, I want to self-identify as. And we have veteran, and we have disability, and very recently we just added neurodiversity to that. So that's exciting. And there is a separate button for disability and neurodivergent, because not all neurodivergents consider themselves disabled. I think the last very unofficial, poll that we did, it was like a third said yes, a third said no, and a third said, I only check the box when I need to. Which really is true. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of stigma about doing that. And we have had hiring pilots in 11 countries, which is really fabulous. But we've also have been trying to make all of these practices into the standard way we hire everyone. Because what's good for, neurodivergent friendly equals human friendly, right? The interview process is, anxiety, for anybody. But if you're already coming into that with an additional layer of neurodivergence, then that may be, the difference to being offered the job or not, or being able to go through that. So through our BRG, through our training, we really like to have people to know that they can ask for help. They can ask for, whether it's just peer support through the safe space, or whether it's interacting with our HR team, or, even talking to me. I'm kind of like the concierge for resources to go through and say, you're not alone, and this is what is available. We even have we have a shared document where people have just put up in a very unorganized way what works for them. And some people said, might say noise canceling headphones, or some people might say, I like to be in the middle of everything because I feed off of everybody's energy. Or I need my meetings transcripted so I could reread and go back to what I said I was supposed to do 3 hours ago because, squirrel, right? So, yeah, exactly. So, as far as measurements, it's something that we're not at liberty to share, and then it's also difficult to track. So I
Yeah.
understand the question. I know we like data.
Yep. But we also want to try and make sure we're creating these environments, and you guys are so intentional, and you really do. And through the ups and the failures along the way over 8 years, you guys have really honed and refined where you are. And that element of cultural intelligence has also brought in this really beautiful place that you guys are cultivating these safe spaces that are so wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a Slack house. So we have a virtual safe space community that, for a couple of different groups. We actually have one.
And what does that mean at IBM to have like a safe space, especially like Slack and some place to go? What does that
Yeah,
mean
so
exactly for you guys?
we have a private channel, and we have a couple of gatekeepers that you have to answer one question to that gatekeeper, which is, do you identify as neurodivergent? Simple yes or no. No medical self-diagnosis of self-recognition, or people who really think they are, but they never got, they went to the doctor and they took the test, and the doctor said, no, you're only 72% neurodivergent. You can't be like, and we do have some house rules, like, what happens in the channel stays on the channel. And we ask people to label their posts like looking for advice, or I just need to vent. Every week we have a dopamine of the week. So that is always a lot of fun, just to share some spiciness. We have, again, one for actually neurodivergent and one for actually autistic. But then we also have some groups. One is neurodivergent family and caregivers. So people who are a parent or a caregiver of can share questions, share best practices. There was a whole flurry of, okay, or at least in the US, back to school is coming. What are you doing to help get your kiddo ready? Or, has anybody experienced with the IEP process? Or just having that sense of community. We have a neurodiversity at IBM Espanol, trying to really, and I think we have one in Portuguese. Our trainings, we've hit over 65 countries, 10 different languages, and it's really just a space to say, that they're heard, and that they're not alone, and that other people have been on the journey. And people keep adding like that list of what works for me, to go through that. And so much of it, I can't say it enough, so much of it goes back to hitting that sense of universal design. And Potentia does do a fantastic job with there, because how better communication would you have on your team if at the beginning of a project you have this document and say, okay, I'm a night owl, I'm an early bird, I can't attend any meeting between 3 and 4:30 because I got to get my kids from the bus, or I need a break in the day to go pray. Whatever it is that, if people are willing to share and just communicate of what works for you.
That's so beautiful. And it's such an important part of just the humanness that we can bring in so easily. That's one of the things that we focus on. It's like in our connection lab, we talk about, what are your peak performance times? What is your communication style? Both how you like to give information and how you like to receive information, because those two things can be wildly different, And we recently had a conversation in one of the posts that I put out, and you guys were so beautiful in sharing some of your experiences around employment. And Nat, I know you've got some insights to share sort of around your own career and employment journey. And right now, what we're seeing is, on average, if you're applying for a position, there's about a 5-month weight. And one of the beautiful shares that we received this week on our community conversation post was several people were saying, just the application and interview process alone, by the time I get to the end of it and I finally either get an offer or I have an opportunity to take the next step, I'm so burned out from the interview and application process that I feel like I'm starting 10 steps behind in a job I'm really excited to have.
Right.
What are your thoughts, and what has been some of your career experiences, Nat?
I've been with IBM just shy of 30 years, so it's been a while since I was on that side of the fence. A lot of it I learned and watched my son going through it. And so many simple changes that we can make. Like, we have quiet hours at toy stores, right? So autistic children or sensory sensitive kiddos can shop for toys when the lights are lower and there's no blaring music. Why wouldn't we do the same for a job fair? Why wouldn't we do the same for an internship fair when it's not as important as buying your favorite Power Ranger? And it always was the blue one, but to be able to go to that internship fair where it's not a giant mosh pit, right? Where as a company, you can say, here's my sign up list. You're going to talk to IBM at 11:15, or you're going to talk to Google at whatever. We've done reverse job fairs where the students were seated and the companies rotated through, just to lower that sensory expectation. Or doing things like, okay, for the interview, we're going to ask you 10 questions. We're going to give you 4 of the questions in advance so you have time to think. When we go to the whiteboard, I want this to be collaborative. How can we make this experience better for you? Because we want you to be a good fit on both ways, right? If the candidate doesn't feel like they fit or they belong, then it's not going to be good on either side. And getting and just being able to talk about it, right? One of our neurodiversity training classes is specific for recruiters. We have one for TAPs, or talent acquisition professionals. We have one for managers and team leaders, specifically looking at these things, right? If you're an accountant or a lawyer or in graphic design or anything, does it matter if you don't want to talk about the weather, or if you don't shake your hand the right way, or if you don't just look into my eyeballs? But how is that, reflected? How can we alter our job descriptions? A lot of them are kind of like, cookie cutter, right? Good communicator. And, and people are just like, well, I'm not, so I'm not going to apply. And I love working with our interns and some of, working out, I was at Penn State and a few other places, Carnegie Mellon, and just talking to the students that when they're looking for the perfect job, right? The perfect internship, it's kind of like looking on Tinder. You're never going to find 100% match, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You nailed that one.
I'm sorry?
You totally nailed that one.
You're never going to find 100% match, right? If it's an 83, you go for coffee, you see what happens. You don't automatically swipe left or right or whatever, directing you dyslexic. So it's not going to work. But to think of that, right? Is that, I'm missing the skill. Is that a skill that you can learn? So that's something you can talk about, how you are a good learner or how you're good at extrapolating, to use what you have. And, there is fear of, oh gosh, what if I come out? Maybe I'm not going to get the job because I came out. If you're not going to get the job because you came out, is that a place you're going to want to work? But that is a personal decision. And I was not recognized as neurodivergent until college. And I battled, my younger teens, thinking that, What's wrong with me? I'm broken. How come my brother's smart? Or how come this person can spell or read at this speed? Or how come they just get it? Like I didn't get the instructions, right? That came with this. Like I was always the weird one. And through my journey of my career, one of IBM's mottos, I guess, that we have is treasure wild ducks. And I'm happy to be a wild duck and be at a place where we should be embraced for that. I'm gonna take you all back in time, right? Let's go back to the first hunters and gatherers on the planet, right? Those first original tribes, they had people that were a little different, right? They had people that knew how to read the signs of nature. Oh, the animals are starting to migrate, we should migrate too, or the deer have all of these different things that was a skill. And it was revered. And somehow we lost that. Not saying that, neurodivergent should be revered, but have a place. And it's not Fruit Loops or anything else that, or at least in my opinion, that neurodivergents have always been here. And it's a natural part of human variation. It's a natural element of diversity.
It really is. And I love how, as we have these conversations more and more, with one of the things I'm always, shouting from the rooftops in every conversation that I have the opportunity to sort of shift perspectives and allow people to sort of shed some light on some individual blind spots, because we all have them. And one of those is like, all of a sudden, some people are like, oh, this just showed up in the last 50 years. This didn't exist. I'm like, no, our brains and our type of thinking has existed since humanity has existed.
Mm-hmm.
We are this natural part of this conversation. And one of the things that I love now, guys, if you didn't know this, Nat was part of the Celebrating Neurodiversity Awards from Genius Within CIC, and she was on the short list for Achiever of the Year. And oh my goodness, she is totally, in my book, one of the top achievers of the year, because the work that Nat does in the world and just who Nat is. If you have not connected, if you have not had a chance to have a conversation or anything with this incredible human, please do so. And one of the things that you have a conversation around is bringing neurodiversity into the diversity conversation. How can we really start doing that if that's not something that maybe we're thinking about on this level, or not really understanding how to put this together? What are some insights or ideas that you have on that, Nat?
Yeah. So first, I'm going to do a plug for the Disability and Neurodiversity at Work Roundtable. This is a group of employers, 40 plus, that all are focusing on neurodiversity. And if you go to that website, Disability and, I think it's under like what we do, there's a ton of free resources. There's playbooks I had about how to start your own ND program, how to be neuro-inclusive. But I think the most important thing is just doing what we're doing today, which is talk about it, say the word, get it out from the shadows. I'd say shout it from the rooftops, and take the word neurodiversity. Diversity is right in that word. Although I do like neurospicy, but it is just another factor of humanity. As I mentioned, every April is Neurodiversity Advancement Month. And one year we focused on cross-pollinate, because it would go with our bumblebee theme. And we had, people talking like, what is it like to be a Black female ADHDer? About the layers of masking, about the layers of biases, but also that layer makes us who we are. And all of that coming together, and that it's not something to be ashamed of, or it's not something to be afraid to be discriminated against. But that fear, that coming out, is a personal journey for everyone. And that takes time and it takes courage, and having a fertile community that you can talk about these things, I think, is the first step. So you're never going to get it right. You're always going to mess up. You're always going to have an oops, but you just have to start. And whether it's just starting with, posting that you're going to have, a coffee break where people are just going to come together and talk about it. And then that may lead to a targeted hiring program. But I would personally say don't jump to the hiring program until you do your own housekeeping, because those new neurodivergents that come in need to take root. And just give it a voice, right? Be afraid, be okay with asking the hard questions.
That is such a, gosh, so good.
And it's not a hard question, right? People ask, well, how can I be more neurodivergent friendly? Right? That's always the big question. And answer the question with another question, which is, how do you be friendly to the LGBT community? How do you be friendly to people of color? How do you be friendly to women? Right? The answer is the same across the board. Listen. And open your heart.
Listen and open your heart. Words to take to heart and live by each and every day. Nat, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for this incredible conversation. Oh my goodness, so much love to you, my friend. I cannot tell you how wonderful it has been to share time with you today, to get to know you, to be part of your world just for a little bit. Thank you so much. And guys, I hope that you have really, really found something that has spoken to you today in this conversation, that if you are in a company and you are trying to put in some safe spaces, some Slack channels. I mean, Nat just gave you some really great ways to kind of create these conversations, to start looking at cultural intelligence, to look at the different layers. And there's a lot of juicy goodness in this conversation today. And if you need to go back and listen again, do that. And if you need to have more information about maybe how to get it started, reach out to Nat. Nat told you she is the resource go-to person. She has all of this stuff. So be sure that you do that. And we love to do these things here at Mind Your Autistic Brain. Our NeuroDrive teams are thrilled to come in and create these conversations and help teams and executives build these infrastructures within our companies. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. And don't forget, we've got some fun stuff coming up later this month. If you want to be able to take the conversation to the next level and you're really wondering, how do I go from just acceptance and awareness, but really move into acceptance and advancement? The power of acknowledgement is one of those tools. And the absolute go-to person in the power of acknowledgement is Judy Umlis. And she is going to be doing a 30-minute lunch and learn series with me this month on the 12th and the 19th. So guys, it's just 30 minutes. It is power packed. And we're going to be talking about how can we use the power of acknowledgement to really elevate our inclusion and our conversations to make those cultural and safe spaces within our companies and within our teams through the power of acknowledgement. So please be sure and join us. We're going to have this posted out there on LinkedIn that you can sign up and get all the information. And it'll also be in the show notes. So we're so excited to have this month as part of our Disability Employment Awareness Month. And if you haven't found out what your degree of spicy pepper burnout is, go take my quiz. I've got the quiz and it helps you identify, hey, am I in burnout? Number one, am I in spicy burnout? Spicy burnout is for autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, our beautiful, wonderful, neurodistinct and neurospicy brains. And this helps you identify, am I a level 1 poblano pepper? Do I just have a little bit of heat? What does that mean for me? And how do I start the restoration process? All the way up to the level 5 ghost pepper, where you might be so hot, you're not. And in that there's a very different approach to restoration. And you can get those first steps to restoration in my book, Unleashing Sustainable Energy, which is breaking glass ceilings in the publishing world through hyperlexic publishing. This is in both easy to read font as well as dyslexic font, audiobook, and live captions and video, so that you can take in information in the best way for you, my friend. Go get the book, go take the quiz. Nat, thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you for being here today. And as we wrap up this episode of Beyond Autistic Burnout, I want to remind you of your incredible brilliance. Embrace your uniqueness and know that your journey is one of strength and empowered leadership. I'm Carole Jean Whittington, and I'm so honored to be on this journey with you. Stay connected with me for more transformative episodes, and let's continue to thrive together. Remember, your best thriving life is already yours. You don't have to earn it. Unleash your authentic self and your inner leader. Until our next conversation, take care and keep shining brightly. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of these conversations coming up, my friends. Bye-bye.